How you guys doing? I'm glad, good. So some of you know my work as an actress in film and television, but the work that I'm doing in real life is far more interesting and far more important. But before I go into any of that, I'm going to go ahead and tell you some stories from my real life that have brought me where I am today. And this is something that I have not shared very much publicly. In 1999, I was an actress coming off of 5 years of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It was the #1 syndicated show in the world when we went off the air. Everything was great. I was working on more than one show at a time. Things were looking really good. All of that stopped on a dime when I got a stalker. A member of my fan club who I had worked with as a personal assistant decided that he wasn't getting as much out of his fan club membership as he wanted. So he took the liberty of listing me on matchmaker.com without my knowledge or consent. He listed pictures of me and a list of my acting credits, and answered multiple choice questions and essay questions with disgusting sexual lies. He also listed an email address where you could email me and he would get it, and to each person that would respond, he would say, "You think you are the right one? Proof it." And then he said my name, address, and home phone number, a blatant invitation for someone to come to my house and get me and my young son. I subsequently received a death threat from someone threatening to brutally rape me and kill my son. And I was angry. I was furious. I was absolutely paralyzed with anger for the next several years because my life was turned upside down. I was afraid to go home. I didn't want to stay awake. I was in real trouble emotionally and physically in danger. A short while later, a friend of mine wrote a self-help book, and he asked me to help him market it. And I thought about the best way to market something in Los Angeles. And I said, well, if you really want to get some good press, why don't you take it to a charity? Don't take it to the Downtown Women's Club or Merrill Lynch. Take it to somebody who really needs it. And we started thinking about who. And because of my own experience, feeling so desperately angry and so desperately afraid, and frankly not wanting to stay awake and having had some problems with drinking and just being stuck in my own anger, in my own bed, in my own thoughts, I thought, why don't we take it to Homeboy Industries? Homeboy Industries is a group in downtown Los Angeles. They are the number one largest group that rehabilitates ex-gang members in the world. They're the #1 group that takes care of at-risk kids. They're the largest organization. We walked in there and fell in love, and we realized that these kids had the same kinds of issues that I had had on a much different level. Here was I from West LA, blonde actress, that whole life. But here they were with the very same kinds of issues that I had to a certain extent. And I was able to open up and to share with them my own brokenness, my own anger, my own pain, and my own fear. And so I mentored these kids for 6 years. For 4 years, I taught a class there. And I was able to turn my own brokenness into an act of heroism, into an act of reaching out and helping to heal hearts and to heal lives. And I was able to say, my life has been nothing like yours, but I know what it's like to be afraid to go home. I know what it's like to not want to stay awake. I know what it's like to be so paralyzed with betrayal and anger that I literally can't think straight. And I'm thankful to have been able to affect hundreds and hundreds of lives there. There was a girl that was coming in, she was new, and when they come in, they're really hard and cold and really angry and scared. And there was a man who was talking with her. He has tattoos all over his face, a wonderful man, gentle and sweet and kind now, named Marco. And he said, so you should take her class. And she said, what's her class like? And he said, well, I'll tell you. Did you ever see a picture of yourself when you were coming home from the hospital, when you were really young, your parents had you, and you were wrapped in a blanket, and you just knew that if you could hold everything at that moment in time, everything would be okay? That's what her class is like. So I'm grateful to have been able to turn around all of my anger and pain and fear and to use it to go straight into my brokenness and to affect lives. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew that I was talking to them from my heart. And looking back, I can see that it was really my brokenness that made that all possible. A short while later, unrelated to this, there's a little girl named Katie. She was 6 years old in Chicago, and she was bullied for bringing a Star Wars lunchbox to school. Katie said that the boys were following her around and saying, "You can't like Star Wars, you're a girl, you can't like that stuff, that's like a boy." And so she stopped bringing her Star Wars lunchbox and started bringing something pink and little. Not good, right? Katie's mother, Carrie, is a blogger with a very large audience. So she wrote a blog about this. And she said, my daughter should get to be exactly who she is. And Katie and Carrie went to sleep. And then they woke up the next morning seeing that Huffington Post had picked up the blog and that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people had logged on and said, "We love you, Katie. You should get to be exactly who you are. You be you. We love you. We love science fiction. We love Star Wars. You get to be you." And so they woke up to that and a message from Lucasfilm. I was one of the hundreds of people that had posted on the blog that day saying, we love you, and I'm behind you, Katie, 100%. And so Carrie and I kept in touch, and she interviewed me for a book that she started to write on bullying. Well, I was able to introduce Katie to a couple of friends of mine and introduce Carrie to another couple of friends of mine to be interviewed for the book, including Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca. So now little Katie, bullied in first grade, is friends with the real Chewbacca. How about that, bullies? Right? Thank you. Well, Carrie's book did very, very well, and HarperCollins bought it. And she, in time, when she finished the book, she said to me, could you please help me get this book into ComicCon? Because she knew that I went as an actress every year. You guys familiar with San Diego Comic-Con? Well, it's pretty big, and it's pretty fun. And so I said, sure, let's do that. And I started to think about the correlation between the kids at Homeboy who were bullied and the kids at Comic-Con who are bullied, and myself and Katie, and I started to realize that this awful struggle for power, this imbalance of power in the world, this thing that we have that goes from kindergarten through first grade school and high school, is the same thing that happens with gang members. This is the same things that happens with countries. It's why we have war. And I started thinking, let's not just take it to Comic-Con. Let's make this a big deal. Let's make a huge outreach through pop culture. Let's form a coalition. So we did, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that next. So I'm thinking, let's form a coalition. Who do you need if you have a coalition? Well, you need the United Nations Association, right? So I looked up their number online, and I called them cold. And I said, "Hi, this is Chase Masterson from Star Trek, and I'm going to do some work against bullying. And we are thinking that you guys do work against bullying, right, with, countries. So you want to work with us?" And they said, "Oh my gosh, we've always wanted to come to Comic-Con." So the United Nations Association, on our second conversation, said, "Absolutely, yes, we are all in. Here's our high-resolution logo. We are your partners." Carrie brought on the Anti-Defamation League in the very same way. We brought on the No Hate campaign in the very same way. The founders, Adam Bauska and Jeff Parsley, have done 4 of our events now. Glisten, let's see, who else? Did I say the Girl Scouts of America, the International Bullying Prevention Association? And all of this started to blossom. And we just started doing the next right thing and thinking, wouldn't it be cool if? Wouldn't it be cool if? And relating our own experiences and remembering how broken we were and remembering that we don't ever want anyone else to feel like that ever again, right? So this thing has grown and grown.
What a lot of kids go through.
Here we go.
Adults. I realized that no one has ever done an anti-bullying effort on an official level at a pop culture event.
Our thing here is, we all love superheroes, why not be one?
This is the first bullying panel at a major pop culture event like this.
You have people who remember decades later the specifics of their schoolyard taunting. It tells us that it affects us throughout our lives.
High school is not forever, so you just kind of forget it and then tell the story later. to an awesome show at Comic-Con.
And I think that that's a very effective way to diffuse it, is sort of show the absurdity of bullying.
Reach out and find your people.
Everyone has a voice, everyone has a talent.
Be proud of who you are.
Be cool, be kind. We love you guys. Thanks. So there we go. We had started calling ourselves the Pop Culture Anti-Bullying Coalition, and we met Matt Langdon, and we realized, no, heroism is way cooler than anti-bullying. It's a more pro-social way of looking at changing the world. So now we are calling ourselves the Pop Culture Hero Coalition, and we're doing events all over the country, and Matt has even taken this to Australia. So our events are now in at least 2 different countries. We're headed to England next. One of our first big events was New York Comic-Con. They gave us a 30-foot booth, 30 by 30-foot booth, a week in advance because no one else had paid for it. And true to my fashion, I said, sure, let's do it. And so we brought in all sorts of fun stuff and fun people, and the No Hate campaign did their very first photo shoot with us there. All sorts of celebrities have climbed on to support. There's Stan Lee. There's Stan Lee again. You guys know him, right? There's Seth Green. This is our I Am campaign. We're asking celebrities to say a little bit of something about themselves so that we can teach people and help people to assert themselves. Just like Katie, I love Star Wars. Just like whatever you love, whatever makes you unique, you be you. So that's our message to the fans, and we're getting celebrity support to do that. There's Greg Grunberg from Heroes, Sean Astin from Lord of the Rings, and Rudy, Ming-Na from Marvel, Rick from Lost Girl, all sorts of cool people, Felicia Day. John Barrowman came and did one of our panels, and Matt was on that panel as well. And he told an amazing story about being beat up and locked in his locker by a kid who would call him fag. And he was brutalized as a youth. And then I asked him, how did that affect your ability to make a stand for LGBT rights and marriage equality? He said it was an absolutely direct thing. I realized in my brokenness that I could also be incredibly strong. There's a saying from Star Wars where Obi-Wan is fighting. He says to Darth Vader, "If you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." And that's our story. So we're having all sorts of cool people do these things. Jason Mewes, Gail Simone, she's a very well-known comics writer. And then we're having kids come in and say exactly who they are. And we're teaching little girls, you don't have to just wear pink and be a powder puff girl. You are brave. You are courageous. And then I'm strong, I'm a survivor, I'm a fighter. And boys are coming in too, saying things to stand up for themselves, just to make a stand for who they are. We also have people write messages to people who may need encouragement. So there are all sorts of great messages that we put on our wall, and people sometimes will take one. There's a girl that was in Chicago last year. She actually took a message home with her last year. She brought it back to us this year and said, I really needed this encouragement. I kept it with me all year, and now I want to give it back because I'm better now. So there's all sorts of stuff that's going on, really, really powerful things that people say. And Carrie now takes these messages to schools when she goes and works. Some really powerful messages. And people will come in and they'll write a message, and you realize they're writing it to themselves for encouragement and to empower themselves and who they used to be. Some really powerful, reflective messages, too. So the bottom line is, and some pretty funny ones. So the bottom line is, this, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. And most of all, love speaks louder. And finally, kind words save lives. It's in our own brokenness that we can find the place that we know someone else is going through. So I would encourage you, find that place inside yourself and find someone else that is going through what you went through. That's heroism. It's on a small scale and it's on a large scale. But That's our thing. We all love superheroes. Why not be one? Make a stand for who you are and make a stand for somebody else. Thank you.